What is next for this Wisconsin Badgers team? Quarterbacks in the portal, Big Ten, big picture moving forward. We got Brian Smith. It's the BS Report, Locked On Portal, Locked On Badgers crossover. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, Locked On Portal crossover edition. We got Brian Smith, Ryan Harings. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today's episode, the Big Ten big picture moving forward. Where might the Badgers fit into that? Lots of new coaches, lots of changes in this landscape. Portal needs by position for the Badgers. How do they get a quarterback? Who could that quarterback potentially be? And where did the Badgers go from here? Brian, man, there was momentum. There was real momentum.
I know.
You were even excited about the Badgers. And then that.
Look, you can't score 10 points, bro. 7 points, actually. They only scored 7. You didn't make it to 10 points. And I don't understand the whole quarterback scenario. And I don't understand, like, Carter didn't play in the set. Like, what would the rationale be? Your defense played pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
That's good. I'm still trying to figure out, like, where's the lining in this that makes me feel like good about Wisconsin moving forward on the field. Well, off the field, there's a few positives to talk about, but, like, I don't understand what they're doing, so I can't formulate a plan. Because you and I were talking before the show, we went on and we're talking about Carter and all that. Have some ideas with the portal, but now I don't know, like, do we really think he's going to stay around if you're going to bench him randomly? Probably not. So this is really weird. I mean, It's a snow game. I know you weren't going to score a lot, but why would you put in the guy that doesn't move when it's windy and the weather is just awful? Somebody explain that to me.
I don't have a great answer. And it's still, I'll tell you this, a day after, like, you sleep on things and you're always like, the next day I'm going to wake up with more, because we do reaction shows on Locked On Badgers and we're fired up. Like, we're a couple IPAs in, or, maybe something else in as well. But then you sleep on the day after and I just don't get it, man. I don't hate the idea of you have a package for Hunter Simmons, who has a better arm, a little more experienced. He comes in and he throws in some very obvious throwing situations. I actually don't hate that at all. That helped set up the first half touchdown, which Carter Smith converted. But to not play him at all in the second half after he was the guy at the helm for your win against Washington, your win against Illinois, he gives you something on the ground. I don't get it. And here's my biggest question. If you're going to switch that quickly on the fly, then why have you been repping him #1 the last 4 weeks? Why? It feels a little knee-jerk. It doesn't feel like there's enough conviction there. I still, in retrospect, don't like the move, Brian.
Well, the result should make you think that you don't like the move too, because they didn't score after halftime. Yeah, if he'd have went out there and thrown for 140 yards in the second half and a touchdown and ran one in and this and that, and Carter stood over there, that's okay. They didn't score. And that guy's out of eligibility, if I remember correctly. So you're going to lose him automatically, and Carter's probably not in the greatest of moods about being benched.
No argument. I don't like it. No argument from my side. Let me ask you this. There is a question. We're going to get into a couple of questions from the Discord as well. Always questions when Brian Smith jumps on. There was a question related to, how do you judge Grimes in a situation like this where he's just shuffling backup quarterbacks in and around? Jeff Grimes, the offensive coordinator. Like, how do you evaluate this? Are we just shuffling deck chairs on the Titanic, and then at that point it's a little ridiculous to judge quarterbacks and coaches?
Spurrier did that about 25 years ago, but that's Steve Spurrier. I'll give him the lay of the land. This guy's not Steve Spurrier. It doesn't work very often. The only time I've ever seen it really work is when you have a guy that's like an option quarterback or somebody that's just dynamic. And Carter's not on that level, but even so, he can throw it. I mean, I've watched him up close. I've stood next to him while he's throwing before. And there's no nice way to say this. You guys weren't going to a major bowl or something, win or lose anyway. These games are practices for next year. I know that's not a friendly way to say it. You need to evaluate Carter Smith No offense to the guy that's leaving the program. He was at an FCS program. He's done anyway. Now you might be done with Carter. Why would you go that route? Yes, so
Listen, I think it's a good point. I will say this: there's intangible value to the X game, right? You're very correct that big picture Wisconsin's not going to any bowl game this year anyway. We've talked about that before. I would have stuck with Carter Smith because I think you need to let him develop and then give a package to Hunter Simmons. Again, that's what I wanted. I didn't hate Hunter Simmons coming in for packages. Um, but yeah, man, I just big picture, I don't understand how this makes sense. And even a day after, I'm frustrated by it. I will say this: you talked about what do you maybe build on if you're a Badger fan in a program where the optimism may be going to the offseason. I think you saw some of what Coach Tressel is able to do when he gets some pieces in the front seven. Some of those pieces are
oh
coming
yeah.
back. Not all of them, but some of those pieces are back. Those inside linebackers are back. I think that's the optimism you build on, because even in this game, the Badgers defense wasn't the problem.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, look at it this way. If you went through the last 6 games, how many reps did your defense take and how many reps did your offense take? I'm going to wager pretty strongly the defense saw more reps than the offense. Just those guys held it together with freshman linebackers playing a good deal of that. By the way, that is wild. Congrats to them. They're both very good players. But they've got some pieces there. Now the question is, can you put A, more around them, B, keep them? Because I guarantee you their inbox is not empty. There are going to be offers that Wisconsin's not going to like hearing because they're not going to match them. Kids just got to want to stay. So that being the case, if you can get a couple pieces around him and Carter does come back, you could be a decent team next year. But I remember the last time I was on, you were talking about some guy that's a booster is going to spend more money, blah, blah, blah. I know everybody wants to talk about portal additions. And by all means, I'm here for it. I run the portal podcast, for crying out loud. But for the Badgers, the number one priority through number 10 is retention. Because I'm going to tell you right now, any of these young players leave, it's going to be like your soul is being ripped from your body. Poser is one of these guys transfers to Oregon or fill in the blank. I mean, it's going to be crushing. They're going to have to spend a ton to keep guys, which is a good problem. That means you develop some guys, but they're going to have to. Then, I mean, we've already talked about this briefly. To keep Carter, they're going to have to probably spend some money, and they still need to bring in somebody anyway because you got to have depth. For the love of mankind, your program has been snake bitten at the quarterback position like no other program in the FB. Out of 136, you are dead last in luck with quarterback injuries. Dead last. So hopefully they can get a good backup and Carter can be the guy. But what if Carter leaves? That's a lot of money you got to spend. You're going to spend about $2 million a year on a quarterback.
Let me ask you this. Brett Roll had a question. Just do you think Carter transfers? And if he were to, I know I'm not asking maybe if you have inside specific information there, but do you think it is to a Southern school, maybe somewhere down south? What kind of market do you think there is for a Carter Smith?
That's a great question. Carter is a kid that's kind of whatever. I think he kind of embraced the Wisconsin situation, but he's from Fort Myers, for crying out loud. I mean, that is Southwest Florida. It's the last stop before you hit the drink. You know what I mean? Like you run out of land. So I'm sure it's on the back of his mind, but he wants to play. And again, that's being benched in game number 12 probably isn't high on his list of priorities. So I'm sure that, like I know some of the people that are going to Florida with the whole situation there. We know who's going to be going there. That family of Gator people. That would be like if they reached out, he would take the phone call, I'm sure. And I'm sure there's about 10 other schools that have probably spoken to. Wouldn't be surprised if Indiana reached out or anybody else too. Like anybody that lost a quarterback. This is a guy that was a top 25 quarterback in college football recruiting. So he's going to have a plethora of options from every school in the SEC and ACC in the back office, or at least once his name hits the portal, they'll all at least entertain him in some capacity. The warm weather, I just think it's more about him playing. Carter's a really competitive kid.
Great stuff as always from Brian. We're going to take a quick second here. Come back. Portal needs for the Badgers. Potential quarterbacks they could target. We know they're going to need to target some quarterbacks. Who are some potential guys they could target? Plus, big picture Big Ten coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Game Time. Game Time's our incredible friend to get tickets to really wherever you need to get, but specifically Specifically, Brian, the World Cup is coming. One of the greatest sporting events in the world. It's coming to North America for the first time in 1994, and there are 48 teams for the first time ever. It's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is always the hardest part of this stuff. That's where Game Time app is clutch, finally giving fans the real advantage when it comes to finding those seats and snagging those amazing value spots. With Game Time, you can track price drops in real time, get alerts with great seats open, and buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts the power back in your hands and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible and frustrating. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in minutes. No confusion, no hunting for prices. And what you see is what you're going to pay. That's one of the great things with Game Time. There's no hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets. Every match, every event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKDOWNCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms to apply. Again, download the app, create the account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, Brian, let's talk some portal here. Let's talk quarterbacks. Where could the Badgers potentially look? Who are some of the big names that could hit the market that would also potentially make sense for the Badgers?
Make sense is the question, because after what just happened with the game against Minnesota, what are they running? Because they went from a running quarterback to a statue. I don't even know what they're running, so I'm not going to be able to address what makes sense, because I don't know if we just saw anything that made sense. But I've been told, this was a week or so ago, DJ Lagway is a guy that's going to leave. I don't know if that's going to be the case with Summerall. It sounds like he's going to Florida, but whatever the case may be, there are going to be guys like that on the market that didn't quite make it. Plus, let's talk about Old Dominion's got a quarterback like the North Texas thing. That kid's going with the coach up to Oklahoma State. You're probably going to see a few things like that around, but it's probably going to be more G6 FCS guys that moved up, and then a few DJ Lagway kind of situations mixed in. Another guy, trying to think of the backups. One of the Ohio State quarterbacks will surely leave after this year, because the youngest guy is the starter.
Yep.
That screws up your depth chart 100%. Notre Dame's backup. He's got 2 years left of eligibility. He's really mobile. He can throw at Kenny Minchie. Wouldn't be shocked if he's on the market. But after that, man, I don't know. Like, these things usually happen really quick publicly, but they take care of themselves behind closed doors. The whole notion that guys get in the portal, then they get contacted, is 100% garbage. The portal is about one thing: cheating, period. And that is it. There is no friendly, there is no nice. These people would step on your grandmother's grave to get a 5-star D end. So you've got to play that game too. I don't know what Wisconsin's doing, but if they're not cheating, they're not going to even be close. So that's reality. I would imagine they probably have 3 or 4 guys minimum, because we talked about this. They'll probably need a starter if Carter leaves. They may need a second guy as well, because the kid coming in from California, you don't want him being in the position Carter was in this year if he leaves. They need 2. This is complex. I don't know how much money you think they'll dump into quarterback, but it's going to be a little bit more than they probably originally thought, would be my guess, because I think they need 2. Am I wrong on that? Or
No, I think they need 3. I mean, I don't think you're wrong at all. They brought in 2 last year, and both of them got hurt, right? Because they brought in, obviously, Billy Edwards, who played 7 snaps. I mean, I'm exaggerating, but you got a half of football ability. Then they brought in Daniel Neal, who got hurt early and they got hurt late. Hunter Simmons was the 3rd guy they brought in from the FCS, and he got played and got hurt and got benched. They went through
how?
They went through 4 quarterbacks this year, and they went through 3 the year before. So I think they need 2 minimum, because and that's even if Carter stays. Because if Carter stays, the depth chart next year, it's Carter Smith. I don't think Daniel Neal's going to be ready at any point in the year, considering the injury he suffered middle of the season this year. It's going to be Carter Smith and Ryan Hopkins on the depth chart next year. Let me ask you this. You mentioned DJ Lagway. Obviously, he was a uber recruit, Florida quarterback. And then you mentioned Old Dominion quarterback, which I believe that his name is Colton Joseph. What's the better strategy? If you're a Wisconsin, do you look for the bounce back on a really highly regarded prospect that didn't work out, or do you look at the lower level quarterback that's played well against lesser competition?
The latter. Look at Indiana. When they went over from James Madison, they brought 13 guys. They still have like 8 of them in Bloomington. How's that working out for Indiana, taking the lower level MAC players? One of their key D linemen this year played at Toledo. They evaluate the film themselves, and they're just good at it. And they also bring in kids that want to be there. They go fit over talent. Now, if you want to look at it in reverse, I cover Florida State. Let me tell you how bad it was in 2024. They brought in all the rejects out of Alabama and Georgia. Only one of those kids hit out of like 6. And they had a firestorm in the locker room, etc.
Mm.
Be careful of the talent. Now, I've been around DJ's dad's a nice guy. I don't think he would be that kind of situation. And I don't think he got coached very well either. But in general, outside of DJ might be an exception. If they didn't hit, they didn't hit. And DJ's been in Gainesville 2 years. And he's injury prone on top of it. So injury is the number one thing. From talking to coaches, your injury report is everything. Then are you going to be high maintenance? These are the areas I have to be real careful about when I can't be 100% honest on my podcast because I would get a lot of nasty phone calls anyway, but it's just true. This is what college coaches tell me. So I know it's true because they're getting paid to make these decisions. So you have to look at it like that. And then like, if you're a guy that I don't care if it's Old Dominion or wherever it is, if you played every week, then you're healthy. B, you're at least productive. You know what it looks like when they change the cover 3 and a cover 1, vice versa, etc. He can throw it. Why not? So I would go production because it's proven. Like again, Florida State sucked. They took the high end kids. Indiana took the guys that did well at low level, and they were in a playoff.
Yeah, I'm kind of there with you. And by the way, Colton Joseph is like my early favorite. If I could pick a guy, which is I can't, but you're talking about a guy at ODU that put a little scare in Indiana this year. He runs well. He's 6'2", 6'3", 200 pounds. He's got 2 years of eligibility left. I mean, he feels like a guy that's going to be very, very expensive. But man, if you're going to spend more money this offseason, Brian, if you're gonna come out and say we're going to be top third in the Big Ten, is a top third in the Big Ten NIL program getting a Colton Joseph, or do you have to be the top program?
No, it's going to be fit. It's going to be opportunity. I'll just throw some teams at you in general. SEC, Big Ten, like Tennessee's probably going to take a quarterback. That's big money. Miami could be in that race. That's big money. So $2 million is like bottom end because some of these teams will overpay because they can. So for the Badgers, they got to ask themselves, if we spend all our cash on the quarterback, what are we going to have for running back, receiver, corner, whatever? You got to manage your budget. But if you don't have a quarterback, you're done. It's a really fascinating conversation.
Where else, really quick, and then I want to get into Big Ten moving forward, kind of big picture there. But where else do the Badgers, let's say they get the quarterback, they spend 2.5, they get a guy, whoever that guy may be, they get a dude. Then where do the Badgers need to go in the portal?
It's the key spots, man. Corner, wide receiver, D end. I mean, I know this isn't what Badger fans want to hear, but it's all the really expensive spots. Offensive tackle, everybody could use one of those pretty much. Outside of maybe like Ohio State or Notre Dame or something, there's hardly anybody that couldn't use a tackle. But D-line, corner, receiver. And it's receivers, you can get some guys, there's some value, but like corner, like that's super, super expensive. D-end, like you're competing against Texas, Georgia, Notre Dame, Ohio State. Like if a kid's worth $1 million, you're spending 1.8 minimum. You know what I mean? Because they can spend it. But if you're going to win now, this is what it is. And that's why I like how you phrased it. You know, like Wisconsin's been labeled as a team that's bottom end, bottom third-ish of the Big Ten. If they're going to try to compete to win 8 or more games coming up, they're going to have to spend like it. This crap about the portal and like all the NIL, the caps, that's garbage. Texas Tech didn't spend 20 million. Okay. You know what I mean? They spend like 40 or 50. You got to spend like 30 just to get in the game. I don't know if Wisconsin's willing to do that, but if they want to get serious and get corners and stuff like that, they'll have 5 players next year if they're really serious that would push $8 million, if not $10 million, just on 5 guys they would get. That's how expensive it is, but that's how you win. So we'll see what Wisconsin does.
Is it just about the money? So I say that in terms of there's questions about, well, how many players in Wisconsin are going to bounce this offseason because of what happened this year? How are they going to have to overpay for players because of what this product has looked like? Or is it as simple as if you pay what people want, that's really the biggest factor at this point?
I think that's a great question. It depends on the circumstance. Some kids, it's not the kid making the decision, it's some of the idiot brigade around them. I like to label it the third uncle. Urban Meyer's a guy I know, and he used that on his podcast recently. He goes, watch out for the third uncle, the guy that comes in out of nowhere. And I know a few, like, those guys are awful. I loathe their existence. To that end, sometimes they've got the ear of the kid that's already on your roster. That's, I've heard head coaches talk about that at press conferences. It's why a lot of coaches are retiring or going to the NFL. So I don't know how you deal with it, but like, man, it's part of it. And I know some of the kids it'll be money, but more of it still fit. Because like if the money's close, it's the same in recruiting. They're going to go to the school they think they can, like playing time, Wisconsin, like for a corner. Hey man, you're going to come in here, you're going to be on 2 deep. If you play your cards right, you're going to start for us. We need a big corner, blah, blah, blah. So they might offer 200,000 less, but he's going to play instead of going to Georgia where maybe he doesn't. So development's part of it. Playing time's probably the biggest.
That's great stuff. All right, we're going to take a second here, come back with the future of the Big Ten. What does it look like moving forward? Where might Wisconsin fit into that? This is going to be a fun discussion. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. First, a quick second for our friends of the show over at Omaha Steaks. And it is the holiday season. It's super easy to find perfect gifts on Omaha Steaks. Whatever you need. Like a lot of people stress about finding the perfect gift. Omaha Steaks has you covered. They make it too simple. Whether you're treating yourself, which is a great gift to give yourself, or you're doing something special for someone special, Omaha Steaks delivers handcrafted perfection right to your door. This week is the best time to jump in. Omaha Steaks, their cyber sale is here, so you can get that stuff before the holidays. You can get it locked in, and then you can just sit back and relax, watch football, watch sports, and chill. The deals are huge. Omaha Steaks is not just the quality, which is incredible, but it's also the variety I love. You get all those great steaks that they're absolutely known for, but also burgers. You get sides, you get desserts. They have everything that anyone could want, and honestly, it is the kind of gift that it brings people together. It's going to really, people who get that gift are going to love you for giving it to them. It's going to bring people together for meals. It's just a perfect holiday gift, and you don't have to guess anybody's size. Right now, save big on unforgettable gifts with Omaha Steak. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide, extra 20% off select favorites during their cyber sale, and for an additional $35 off, use promo code college at checkout. That's omahasteaks.com, promo code college. Terms to apply. See site for details. Brian, let's talk future Big Ten. Let's talk where this conference is, where it's headed, where Wisconsin might fit into this.
This is wild. Ohio State's kind of at the top, but at the next level, even Oregon, maybe Penn State, who knows? Like Michigan, they're not anywhere near where they should be. There's some volatility beyond Oregon. I think Oregon's the second best program. USC, are we buying they're really going to be good? I'm not until I see them win some road games against teams that actually have a quarterback that's healthy. No offense, but Raiola got hurt in that game they won.
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't somebody like Wisconsin or Iowa or anybody? I don't know what in the world's going on in Michigan State. For the love of mankind.
Something Fitzgerald is going to be the guy there. That's a late coaching decision. Pat Fitzgerald is the next coach there is what I'm hearing. Do you like that?
At Michigan State?
That's what I'm hearing. I don't think it's been finalized. I personally don't love that. But I can see the appeal.
They want stability.
They want stability. They want kind of an adult in the room. Fitzgerald had some really bad years at Northwestern. It is Northwestern, and we get that. But there were a couple one-win seasons at Northwestern towards the end there.
Yeah, I don't know how he'll deal with the kind of players they get at Michigan State. That'll be interesting, but okay, whatever. Indiana's the wild card. They're going to lose Mendoza. So my question is, let's just say Indiana, Penn State, Oregon, USC, Michigan, the basics. Can Wisconsin get into that next group in the next 3 years? I say yes, but I also say they could be right where they are right now. What we were just talking about prior is pivotal. They got to spend.
Mm-hmm.
There can't be any cheap. And I know I forget the guy's name, but that booster is part of it. But they got to dive in heavy into it. And they probably always need to consider staff changes. Even when Bama would win 10 games, there were years Nick fired people. I mean, it's a dog-eat-dog world, bro. So maybe there's somebody they need to get rid of. Maybe there's not. But whatever it is, back office, assistant ADs, anything they need to do, it's a possibility. Is there anybody that you think, like out of their right, like they've recruited a little better than Wisconsin, but they're not like heads and shoulders above them. Iowa is like they're just so well coached, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, I know Wisconsin fans hate here, but it's not close between those two teams right now. And they actually have a decent quarterback recruit coming in. That would be my worry, is what Iowa does if I was you.
Do
They
you
actually
think? Oh,
finally got a quarterback. Look out. Holy cow.
yeah. Like Iowa, and I don't think any Badger fans would push back on that. They are so well coached and they're disciplined and they have a system and they recruit to it, then they develop to it and they keep consistency. What about Penn State? Does it feel like Penn State maybe regrets firing Franklin? Do you think? I at the time I thought that was a rash decision. I didn't love it because the guy coming in, you basically need him to win a national title. Otherwise, you're taking a step back from what Franklin was doing there. And now you see some of these coaches coming off the board. Where is Penn State pivoting here?
Brother, I don't know. I'm sure it was fake, but I've seen different coaches, like multiple coaches. Oh, he's going to Penn State. So I know there's people put these fake posts on X and stuff like that. I have no idea who they're getting at this point. Maybe while we're doing this podcast, they got somebody. But like that spot's making me a little nervous because their expectations and how many people have said no do not match. It's like what are they down to, like number 6? I mean, I just
Maybe they
it's
get Franklin back. Maybe they bring him back from Virginia Tech. I don't know. Like,
oh my God, bro, it's bad. So you tell me, like they're gonna have to take an up and comer at this point, is my guess. Yeah, one of the things I saw was John Gruden was going there. I'm like, really? I'm not buying that. But they're the wild card in this. I can't give you a projection if I don't know who your head coach is.
right.
Michigan's coach is going to be on the hot seat next year. Ohio State and Indiana and Oregon, those three are content at their head coaching positions. Michigan State's in flux. Obviously, Penn State, we don't even know who their coach is, even though they're a really good program. At some point, Kirk Ferentz is going to retire, allegedly, or his ghost is going to be on the sidelines, whatever it may be. There's nobody else in the league that that can see. Like Illinois is okay, but they're losing Altmaier. Somebody out of this group has to step up just mathematically. Who's it going to be? Is it Washington? They got the young quarterback, Demond Wood. He's talented. You guys beat him, though, with
Yep.
the quarterback that got benched. By the way, I just want to throw that out there.
I know.
Ridiculous.
Washington needs to win some games on the road, man. Before you start taking them seriously. Wisconsin needs to find a quarterback. Illinois is going to have to replace Altmaier. Iowa's going to have to find a ceiling. I don't think PJ Fleck can get Minnesota to that level.
I don't know.
So why not Wisconsin? If you spend money at Wisconsin, why
Yeah,
not Wisconsin? And
100%.
yeah, I agree.
But is there any position I mentioned earlier that you think they need to add to? Linebacker's good. You could always take a defensive tackle, don't get me wrong. But like receiver, corner, D end are the spots I'm concerned about beyond quarterback. What have I
I think
missed?
I think they need an offensive lineman or two. You look at
Oh
this line
God.
this year, and
Oh, that's hard, man. There aren't many in the portal, brother.
they need a center, and I'm guessing that is a
Oh, that's
I
super
already
expensive.
realize I'm the kid on Christmas asking for like a Jeep Wrangler from my middle class parents. I get this, but they've had 3 years with just unstable at best center play. Even this year, they flopped. They've had 3 guys play center this year.
Oh my
They need a
goodness.
center desperately, man. And I know there's got to be like 3 of those that hit the portal every year that are worthwhile and 100 teams looking. But I think they need a lineman or two. It wasn't a very good offensive line this year.
At Wisconsin.
At Wisconsin. Yeah. No, it's now some of this will be, if you remember a couple years ago, Kevin Haywood came in. He was kind of a 4-star recruit on the East Coast. He was hurt beginning of this year, and he's well ahead of the recovery. He's going to be back next year. He's their left tackle. Like they already said, this is our left tackle. That's going to help. That's going to be like getting a portal guy back that they didn't have this year.
100%.
But he's not a center. He's not snapping the ball, and they haven't figured out that position since Luke Fickell got here.
Besides that, it's going great, it sounds like.
Yeah. Quarterback, center, corners, receiver.
How good do you feel about defensive end? Because I don't know the eligibility situation for you guys.
Yeah, they lose Mason Reiger, who's a big piece. They lose Daryl Peterson, who's a big piece, but they've actually recruited decently well there. You remember Jalen Williams a year ago. I think he's ready to step into a bigger role. Nicholas Clayton, I think, is going to step into a bigger role at edge, a player that you were very, very high on. They've added some pretty nice pieces there. Now, to your point at defensive tackle, can you always use another guy who can bend the edge? Absolutely. but they have some pieces there that, to me, that would be significantly behind the cornerback, receiver, center tier. It would be if you find a guy that can help, they're great, but spend that money in places elsewhere.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what they do. It starts at quarterback because if you don't fix that, everything else is probably moot. They need to get that not only done, but done quickly so they can move in and get everything aligned. They need to drop some cash. I don't know if they can get it done or not, but we need Wisconsin to be viable again.
Agree.
Like
I need that.
for Ryan's sanity,
Yeah.
and like for his, psychiatry bills going down, we need the Badgers to be better. That's what we need right here.
Let me hit you this talking offense line. Then I have a couple quick questions for you too to wrap this up. The Badgers did get a commit in 26. Offense lineman out of Massachusetts. I just want to pull up the actual town because I forget it. Arlington, Mass. Brady Bekenis. I'm gonna throw this film up here. What'd you think of Brady Bekenis? Watching some clips of him.
He's a really powerful kid, and I was shocked at how well he moved in space when it was a screen. That's always the test, especially like the kids in the Northeast. The competition's not very good, but he moved well in space. It shocked me. And obviously, he needs some technique. Keep your head up, son. But he gets his hands on somebody, he buries them. If you're going to play lower level competition, you better dominate it. And that's what he does. So, worst case scenario, he's a guard for a year or two, but I think he'll end up being the right tackle for the Badgers. This is the kind of player they made a living on for 30 years. So why not again? I would imagine that this is a kid that'll play by his redshirt sophomore year at the latest.
Yeah, I think that's well said. I like him as a tackle too. I think he gets in space. I like the frame. He's 6'6", 290. He kind of moves like it. Looks like he could put 25 pounds on in 2 years. This feels like a good pickup for the Badgers. Flipped him from Boston College.
Yeah, this is the kind of player that if you're Wisconsin, this should be an automatic, right? Why would it not be? So, by the way, you should be able to flip somebody from Boston College. Holy cow, are they terrible?
Yeah.
But they need more of these guys. They need a lot of them. Now, Ryan, we need to get you in charge of the cornerback room and get that recruiting going again.
I'll try again. I got Xavier Lucas for a year for us, but we'll be able to hang on, Brian. A couple really quick questions here. Again, people from the Discord, if you have a minute. Let's see. This is a good one. How much of recruiting will shift from coaches to just actual recruiters in the future?
I mean, they have people in the back office that kind of do that now, but most assistants, like if you can't recruit at a pretty high level, it just doesn't matter. You're not going to be at a Georgia or something like that. They'll tell you to get bent because the head coaches try to overcoach that position themselves and get involved if they have to. Personalities win recruiting battles. So I still think it's recruit first. I know that sucks in a lot of ways, but at certain spots, like running back. It's not a super hard position to coach. That guy can't recruit. He ain't going to coach it at Wisconsin or Georgia or Texas or whatever. O-line's a little different. Like that is position specific. O-line and quarterback are the two that you got to be really good at your craft or you're screwed. But I think recruiting is super important now because the roster retention, you want kids to like you. So even if you have a bad season like Wisconsin did this year, they stay because of you. It's roster retention, brother.
This one, as someone who reports on a struggling FBS team, parentheses FSU, how do you cope with the team being so bad and no fixes in the foreseeable future?
Right now, I'm trying to figure that out. I ask myself that several times a day, and I'm not kidding. I have a live show tonight that's going to talk about all the kids I'm concerned about Florida State's going to lose to the portal because why would you want to stay in that mess? Wisconsin's in the same boat. Like, if you're not winning with the eligibility situation and you can go play somewhere else the next year, the best thing you could do is find another hobby. Like, there are a bunch of Florida State fans. I've had people that like said 40 and 50 years, they're not watching next year. I'm like, holy moly. Like these guys were here when Bobby was in the early 80s and stuff. Holy moly. And I've had numerous people say until Norvell's gone, I ain't watching. I ain't donating. I ain't going to Doak. None of that. I mean, that is a really loyal fan base too. So as somebody that covers it, I'm going to do broader stuff. Talk about the college football as a whole, how Florida State got there, because I can't just talk about Florida State's roster all offseason. I would. Oh my gosh! If you think I'm negative now, wait till that happens.
You will do things you can't say on this show.
That's exactly right.
You hit on this a second ago, but I'm or early in the segment, but I'm actually kind of just quickly curious again. Your opinion on Jeff Grimes and whether 13 points per game is justified given the circumstances. Is there any way you can say there's nothing a coach could have done with this schedule playing the 4th-string quarterback with a broken offensive line?
Well, I mean, they didn't have to be at the 4th-string quarterback, but they moved guys back and forth between 3rd and 4th. I mean, it wasn't great, but center and all that, that's a problem. A lot of it is just recruiting. Their staff isn't that great at it, and their NIL. So it's somewhat justified, but 13 is bad. Did they go 2 games in a row? They didn't score?
Yeah. They finished 135th in the country in scoring ahead of Massachusetts.
So one school.
One school.
We're number 135. Okay.
Just Massachusetts.
That's unbelievable. Yeah, that's unacceptable. 13 points. Get out of here with that. There's nobody that should score 13 points a game.
Right. It's almost like regardless of the circumstances, you got to do more than score 13 points a game. I'm sorry.
No, you can't. That's garbage.
Last question here, man. Big picture, and this is a good one here. Jeff asks, if he thinks there's only about 10 teams who have the money to get the best guys, what does the future of this sport become?
Well, it's been pretty much the same. It's just changed a little bit on who it is. Like there are a few schools like Nebraska, like they're spending a lot, but kids just don't want to go there. You know which schools are that are just located in the right spots, et cetera. And then, like Michigan can obviously buy guys, et cetera. But the sport just is what it is because of the court rulings about NIL. It just is what it is. So either you spend or you lose. I mean, I know that's not very friendly, but there maybe 15 schools that matter. And then there's a bunch of schools that need that right perfect quarter, like Georgia Tech doesn't spend a ton. How much are they going to lose when Haynes King leaves? Like, how do you replace Haynes King if you're Georgia Tech? They could fall off a cliff.
Yeah.
They could be 5-7 next year in a heartbeat. So, and I'm not saying they will, but those kinds of programs, that's kind of where Wisconsin is. They need the Messiah at quarterback, even though he may not be the 1st-round draft pick, but can he be a guy that fits what you do and helps you grind out those close wins? Wisconsin's not going into Michigan and winning 42-7, but that doesn't mean they can't win 24-21. So if you're not going to be a money team, you got to find fit. And that's why I thought Barry Alvarez did such a great job back in the day with the power football and all that. They got to find another niche. Part of it's power football, but it takes a while to get the linemen again. They got to find that niche because otherwise it's just going to be like Georgia, Texas, Notre Dame, Ohio State. The schools. It's going to be the same ones in the final 8 every single year. And it's just semantics to get clicks otherwise throughout the year. That's it. No, it's a great question. It really is.
Well, I thought you made a great point in that answer with Haynes King. Haynes King is the type of quarterback Wisconsin has to find. He's not going to be a 1st, 2nd, 3rd round pick, but the dude that's the guy that if Carter Smith were to stay, you're like maybe Carter Smith could become Haynes King.
100%. They're very similar in their style of play, their frame and everything. 100%.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. He is Brian Smith over at the Portal Podcast. Go check out his work. I'm Ryan Harings, Locked On Badgers Podcast. Thank you for tuning in on Wisconsin, and we will definitely talk again tomorrow.